month of our calendar year. And we're going to get going now. We're going to do a couple things today. Barbara and I just returned from our Achievers trip here in the United States. That's the equivalent of the ALS or LTS in various countries around the world. It's the reward for being a Founders Platinum, typically. Our trip was to Orlando in Florida at Disney World. I haven't counted it up exactly, but I think I've been to Disney World 28 times. We've been in the business a long time, a lot of trips. And we lived in Florida for a while, and so we used to make the trip often when the kids were small, and with grandkids also along the way. But Amway always does it very, very special. As some of you know, and I know the Europeans are going to be going to Disneyland in Paris, France, coming up soon. And from time to time, people all over the world win trips to Disney World or Disneyland in the United States. But they really do it well. They closed the Universal Studio Park just for us, 4,000 of us, just for us, 4,000 strong at the seminar, invaded the Universal Studios. And it was, wide open, guys. Everything was free. All the rides, all the food, everything, just going into a park, you can't spend money. Kind of interesting. Yes. And I know our friends from Vietnam just returned from a cruise also. I got a message from Hong earlier today. And so many, many trips that are just spectacular. They come to us from Amway. And all you have to do is get the platinum to earn these trips. And so it's amazing, amazing business. I'm going to give you an update. That's going to be the first thing we're going to do. Because while we were in Orlando, we had the opportunity to hear from Doug DeVos and other top officials of the company. And we had the chance to speak with many of them personally. And I can tell you things are very, very exciting around the world. But I'll give you specifics in just a minute. And I do want you to know we appreciate all of you being on with us today. I'm looking quickly here, and we've got people from all over the world. It's hard for me to see everybody when we have so many because I can only see 20 names at a time, so I pretty much can see through the chat box who's asking questions or responding to different ideas and thoughts that we have as to who's here. When I finish the program, the presentation part of the program, I will go to a question and answer period. And so if you have any questions or comments, if it's particular or specific to the topic I'm on, text them in, please. But if not, save them for the end of the program when we'll have an open period for questions, comments, etc. I'd like to give a specific welcome to many new people here. In browsing through the names before, there are many names I did not recognize, which typically indicates you're fairly new in the business. And so I'd like to welcome you to the program. You're in the business at an exciting time, I can assure you that. Hold on for the ride, guys. Hold on tight. It's kind of like the roller coasters in Disney World that we just saw. Hold on tight because we're flying through the air. Barb and I, we had the opportunity to go through the Harry Potter display. It's a huge castle, and you go on a ride. They have all these 3D wizards coming at you and skeletons. I mean, it was really quite exciting. Just imagine, here we are at our age going on a ride like that and enjoying it. I couldn't help thinking that some of the grandchildren would enjoy it more than we did, but it still was fun. And so we're going to do some updates, then I'm going to do a presentation. The topic is going to be strategy, and I will tape that portion of the program or record it, and then we'll open up for Q&A, questions and answers. So with that, let me jump right into our update and the big news, at least from my standpoint and the business world standpoint, and certainly I believe from all of your standpoints, is the fact that at this point in time, already for this calendar year, we projected $10.5 billion in business. Now that's up from $9.265 billion last year, 2010. And according to Steve Lieberman, who's the head of Amway in the United States, he indicates that he's expecting it to go higher. But if it stays at 10.5, the projection that is, we will be at a 14% increase over last year. Now, guys, that's unheard of in today's world. 14% increase. We know what the world is doing. We read it in the newspapers. We see it on TV. Every place we turn, we hear the negatives about the economy, about the banks, about the markets, all these type of things. Companies in trouble, companies going bankrupt. And here we are growing at an unbelievable rate. 14%, and by all projections and thoughts of some of the top officials of the company, you know, this month it's going to increase even more. I don't know where it's going to wind up, but I was surprised to see it at 10.5 because that's just amazing. And it's going to be bigger than that. Maybe we'll get to 10.55 or 10.6, I don't know. But 10.5 is absolutely incredible. And Amway has now paid out a total of $39 billion in incentives and bonuses. The last figure we had was $33 billion. And I've been using that number when I present the plan, and many of you have also, I believe. It's on my PowerPoint. But now it's up to $39 billion. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's payouts again, and that's bonuses and incentives. Now, a few more specifics for you. China is up to $4 billion in business. Now, of course, we've got 1.3 billion people in China. Getting close to that in India, and they're growing fast, very fast. In fact, of all the major markets, they have the biggest increase in percentage of growth. Of the newer markets, the markets coming up fast, Vietnam is number one in growth. And we're happy to say in both those markets we've got great organizations going. Specifically to the U.S., we've now had 22 straight months of growth. Now again, when you look at that, that's almost 2 straight years of growing every single month. And I refer again to the economy in general on a global basis. And we're 22 straight months with upward growth. In the U.S., we have grown 11 of the last 12 years. All of our top 10 markets, and Thailand's included in that, by the way. So is India, of course, the U.S. and Italy and other markets we know about, are all growing strong. Every single one. Latin America, North America, on a major upswing. Doug DeVos said, the greatest risk to the future success of our business is our success of the past. Now that's an interesting statement, and we do want to discuss it a little bit further at this point in time. The greatest risk to our future success is the success of the past. What does that really mean? Well, it means this: you can't stand still. You've got to keep moving. You got to keep growing. You got to keep building. You can't rest on your laurels. You can't sit back and say, whoa, look what we're doing, guys, 14%. Some of you saying, look, I was on that great trip, on that cruise from Vietnam, or at the seminar down in Orlando, or wherever, and say, boy, that was great. It was great, but that was the past already. There's a lot more great things in the future. And you got to gear up for them. You got to get ready for them. You got to be part of them. And so you can't let up. Now, some of you are just beginning your careers with the business. And some of you are midway in your careers. You're fighting to go platinum and earn these trips I'm talking about, and move up to emerald and make, you know, just tremendous amounts of money and have a fantastic lifestyle. But you got to fight for it. You got to keep fighting for it. You got to keep changing, growing, adjusting in order to get the results that you want. It was so clear in Orlando to me when we heard from all the new diamonds, and I mean so many of them, you know, they couldn't even come up stage live. They had to do it on videos. There were 1,200 new pins in the United States. 1,200 new pin qualifiers here in the U.S. So many emeralds, diamonds, etc. that I kept saying they couldn't even go on stage. They just had their pictures and had them recorded on video on big screens. But what became so clear from all of them and the things that they said is that they're out there showing the plan, they're selling the product, they're doing what they have to do to create the lifestyle for themselves and their family. Now, it's great for me to say to all of you that look how great Amway's doing, 10.5 billion, but it has to come down to how great is that for you. And that depends on what you're doing. Are you grabbing onto this opportunity? Are you holding on to it? Are you running with it? Because if you're not, you're going to miss out. And for most of you, and please understand how I say this, because it was for me too at my time in my life when I saw the business, this was my chance. There was no other chance. There was no other way to live like this. There was no other way to be free for 42 years. There was no other way to travel the world. This was my chance. And for most of you, if not all of you, this is your chance. Now, I have to tell you, the growth and what's happening in the world today is much better than when I joined. Now, if you're willing to do the work, focus, make decisions, make and set goals, the results can be yours. And that's what's important. So we can't sit on what happened in the past, even though it's great and we celebrate it, we acknowledge it, we promote it so that people can understand how great this business is today. But unless you're out there showing the plans, selling the products, you're not going to be part of this growth that is taking place in the world today. And if you have another place to have this type of success, go do it. But if you don't, get serious. Get real serious. Get as serious as you possibly can, because as I listen to those emeralds and diamonds, I mean, it's just incredible how it's changed their lives. And of course, I've seen it with many of you on this chat right here. I've seen how your lives have changed through the business. The trips you're talking about, the pictures you send us, or the things you're doing around the world. And we all started the same, and that's so important to always remember. We all started the same. We saw the plan, we made a decision to get involved, and then we decided to make it important in our lives. Well, that's where many of you are today. At that point, make it important in your lives, because most likely, and I say this all with all love and care, believe me, another opportunity like this will not come around in your lifetime. You have it right now. It's the right time, the right place. You're in the right organization. I know you're all on great teams. It's up to you to take advantage of what you now have in your hands. Well, Doug also said, economic freedom leads to personal freedom. There's a lot of talk about money, and there has to be. You're in business to make money. But we can't lose sight of the fact that for most of us, it's not the money, it's what the money does for us. And what's the money do? Number one, it gives us control. Control of our lives. If you have a job, you're not in control. Now, if you love your job, I'm happy for you. If you're making enough money and you're living good with it, great. But you're not in control. Somebody else is in control. And for most people, they understand that, and they're not making enough money. They're not free enough to do what they want to do. So the job is a limitation on their life, on their lifestyle. Now, I'm not knocking jobs or negative about jobs. They're necessary. We need people to have jobs. We need people to do things that are necessary, to support the infrastructure of the world. But we also need entrepreneurs. We need people with dreams. We need people that are charging ahead, moving ahead, showing the example for the people of their country. And you have distinguished yourself in the fact that you're in that category, the entrepreneurial category, the ones who want to do something, be in control of your life. Have the personal freedom that the money can lead you to make your own decisions. Do what you want to do, when you want to do it, where you want to do it, how you want to do it. Yes, that's what the business leads us through to economic freedom. So it's economic freedom that leads us to personal freedom. That is the goal of so many people in this world, people like you and me. Personal freedom. To be what we want to be. to have what we want to have, do what we want to do, and take care of the people we want to take care of. So you have it in your hands, my friends. Take advantage of it. A few other points here. I'm just looking over my notes quickly. Well, I have covered just about everything. Steve Lieberman did say this also. I wrote down some important quotes. Important to me, and important to many people, I'm sure. We help people have better lives. And that was a theme also of the meeting. When the Emeralds, the Diamonds were up on stage, not on stage, but on the video again, they were talking about the fact how proud they were of the people in their organization, just as we are of you, and how good we feel that we've helped some of you have better lives. And I know that feeling will translate to you. It's not all about the money. The money, yes, as I said before, is important. But the fact that you can help other people, other families, sometimes your own personal families, and your friends have better lives is so essential, important to the concept of Amway in our business. Yes, we certainly are different. We're different. We're not like other businesses in many, many ways, of course. And as we sat through this seminar and we had different presentations, one of the things that we have in the U.S. is a talent show. And there were 4 finalists that were performing for us. And they brought in 3 professional judges, the company did. And they were overwhelmed. Absolutely overwhelmed. You tell me what other business meeting you go to and you have a talent show. And the people are spectacular. They all could be professionals in what they did. The judges said that. And they just couldn't believe it. And they just couldn't believe the whole spirit of the Amway business. They're just not exposed in the real world to something like what we have. And for those of you that have been at the conventions, the weekend seminars, the All Asia conference we just had in October, I'll tell you, one of the biggest hits that we have here with our friends in the business and out of the business is the videos of the elephant parade when we were brought up on stage. The people can't believe it. Some of my friends that are not in the business had a whole new respect level when they saw the elephant parade. They can't stop talking about it. They keep telling other people about it. I mean, where do you get something like that in your life outside of this business? Other conventions, you have meetings with your companies. I'm sure they don't bring people on stage in elephants. And I'm sure they don't have talent shows and other things that we have in our business. Just absolutely awesome, as Vickis is saying right here now. So, I do want to show you a quick video, just less than a minute, of the opening of our seminar in Orlando. Now, I do want to clarify a point. The person that is the MC is a gentleman by the name of Michael Buffer. Now, many of you in the United States that are sports fans, you'll know him. He has, in my opinion, the best voice in the world. Not a singing voice, but speaking voice. And he introduces major sporting events throughout the United States. The people hire him just to make the introduction. And of course, Amway hired him too for the opening introduction at our seminar. So I'm going to go to the video here real quick for you. Again, it's a very quick one, short one. I'm going to go to a full screen.
Main event of the
Okay, guys, did that video come through loud and clear for you? Yep, I see somebody, Abby, saying wow. Yep. 4,000 people. You got a chance to see some of the audience? That was at the Amway Arena, the new complex that Amway built in Orlando, Florida. So they own that entire building. And that was, for some of you basketball fans, the stage was set up right on the basketball court. Half of it anyway. And the audience back in the arena seats that they use for sporting events, concerts, and things of that nature. But again, that's the Amway Center, totally owned and built by Amway. And so, yeah, I know Lenny knows Michael Buffer there, so he's giving a bunch of applause. 8s indicate applause on the internet. I don't know where it came from. I think the Filipinos brought this to us. All these 8s. Okay. So, you got a chance to see Michael Buffer, and you got a chance to see the excitement and the opening of that seminar. And there's no doubt, absolutely no doubt, in anybody's mind that next year is going to be bigger. No doubt at all. When we look at the excitement that took place and the awards, the number of people, reaching new platinum and new emerald, it's just going to move up next year to higher levels. And that means they're going to have more people with them. And again, the question comes down. What part of it are you going to play? Are you going to get your personal freedom through the business? So, we're going to go to our topic of the day now. But before I do, I just want to make one more announcement. I mentioned earlier, but I want to mention it again. That on the 8th of December, which is this coming Thursday, 9 p.m., my time here in New York area, I will be doing a global presentation of the marketing plan. That's the very next one, a week from this past Thursday, 5 days from now. And for me, it's Thursday evening at 9 o'clock, but if I know many of you in Asia, it's already Friday morning. So make sure you have the right time. Go on the internet and get a global clock. That's what I do, so I can check the times around the world to be sure I have the right times. And with that, I'm going to put on the recorder, so I'm going to welcome you all one more time for the recording, and then we'll get into the topic. Hello everybody, welcome to our global chat for December of 2011. As I mentioned to you just a minute ago, things are flying high all over the world with fantastic growth. Well, our topic today is strategy. And this is certainly an essential topic, because if we don't understand the strategy, it's very hard to build a business. Because you go in the wrong direction, you do the wrong thing. And you work hard, but you don't get results, and you wonder why. Well, you have to have a legitimate strategy, a good strategy, a strategy for the times. Now, understand this clearly. Strategies change. And as I quoted Doug DeVos earlier, who said, the greatest enemy to our future success is our past success. And there are many, many companies that have not changed, have not adjusted, have not grown. There's a simple example for me to use to illustrate this point, and that's technology. Look what we're doing right here today on the internet. With people from all over the world, hundreds of people joined with us, not only individual computers, but people that have many people in their homes, in meeting rooms, etc., all tuned into a chat like this. We couldn't do this years ago. And we adjusted, we changed, we moved forward, we geared up so that we can continue to grow. And we can continue to build. And so, strategies change. Our business is a simple business. You hear people say that many, many times over. Not easy. Don't make this mistake. Simple does not mean easy. It's not easy to be personally free, to travel the world, to do the things that we've just talked about and shown on videos. It's not easy, but possible. That is the key word, possible. You can do it. tu puoi farlo cum tum dai. You can do it. That's the important thing. You're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to put effort into it. But if you do the same in other areas of your life, do you get the results that we get? And most people are going to have to say, no, they don't. The vast majority of people in the world will have to admit, no, they don't. Amway has been responsible for creating more millionaires than any other single business opportunity in the world. We get results. We're growing at phenomenal rates. Right now, as we talked about, global rate of growth of over 14% when most of the economy is going the other direction. Yes, it's simple, but not easy. You're going to have to learn some new ideas, learn some new concepts, and apply them to your business and your personal life too, I might add. Why do we say it's simple? Well, if you've been involved in other activities, and you all have, whether it's jobs or professions or businesses, certainly I have. I started my career as a nuclear physicist. That was not simple. Let me assure you, that was not simple. It wasn't easy either. It was very hard. Matter of fact, harder than this business, to tell you honestly. But we do it. We do what we set our mind to do, what we want, what we truly, really want in life. And so the Amway business being simple means you can learn it quickly. But you have to learn it the right way. You have to apply the right strategy, or it won't work like anything else in life. So it's simple, but not easy. You have to do a few things in this business. Only a few compared to other businesses. Oh, let me relate back to nuclear physicists again. I took courses that most people don't even understand the headings of, like inverse Fortran equations, electromagnetic theories. Hours and hours and hours of study and research in those particular areas. Whew. And many areas. All kinds of areas, from satellite projections to rocket ships, unbelievable. We had to learn so many different things in order to be effective in that field of nuclear physics. In Amway, there's only a few things that you need to know, but you have to do them well. The few things that we need to do, you have to become expert at. You have to become good at. And you could do this on a part-time basis. You don't have to go to years of a university like I did. You could learn this business on a part-time basis by putting on some CDs, attending conferences both on the internet and, more importantly, the live ones in your regions, counseling with the experts upline on your teams. Yes, you have to do these things because you have to get good, very good, become experts at the few things that we have to learn and do in a business and do them well. I'm going to talk about those things. But before I do that, I want to go back into history a little bit. Because it's people that complicate the business. The people that join, many times new people with different ideas, are not willing to learn the fundamentals, the basics of our business, and they bring in new ideas that are totally off base and create problems for everybody. Now, normally they don't last very long because they wind up saying it doesn't work. Well, the fact of the matter is they didn't learn the fundamentals, the basics. I don't care what you do in life. If you're not willing to learn the basics and the fundamentals before you become creative, you will fail. You have to get the basics down. You have to understand the few things, as I said before. Get good at them. Then you can become creative. But if you start off going in directions that don't work, I tell this story often around the world. Years ago, when I was doing a seminar in Jakarta in Indonesia, there's only a couple hundred people there. It was our first weekend seminar ever in that market, and the market was only about a year old. And we're happy to have several hundred people there at that time. And I asked them a question at one point during my presentation. I said, if I wanted to go from Jakarta to Bali, which direction would I go? Now, you could look at a map very simply and see that it is due east of Jakarta. You go due east from Jakarta, you'll end up on the island of Bali, the beautiful island of Bali. And of course, they all responded to me and said, Pete, you go east. And I said, yes, that's right. That's the best way to get there. But do you understand also you could go west and get the valley? And they stopped and thought for a minute, and then they understood. Oh, it would be a long journey. It would be a tough journey. I talked about this a few seminars ago. You have to go all around the world. Most people wouldn't make it. Yes, they have to leave Jakarta, cross over the Indian Ocean, go over Africa, go across the Atlantic Ocean, the United States, the Pacific Ocean, the Hawaiian Islands, Polynesia, Australia, and eventually they get to Bali. A long, tough, expensive journey that most people won't complete. But if you understand the basics, you just head east and get there in a few hours. And that's the same thing with our business, guys. You have to apply that lesson. Yes, you can go off other directions, but unless you learn the basics and master the fundamentals, you can't apply your own energies and creativeness to the business. Now, the great news is that you can do this quickly, as I said before. If you really work at it and study, in 3 months you can learn 80% of what you need to know to be successful in this business. In 3 months, I didn't even understand what nuclear physics was all about. Now, let's go back into history a little bit with the business, as I promised. There have been many strategies. When I joined the business, we had a 6-4-2 marketing plan. If you follow that plan, you develop 79 people. And it was a good strategy. And that's what we applied. It was the marketing plan and the strategy. But over time, things change, as I said before. Market changes. The people change. Technology changes. And so you adjust. You make adjustments. We had a 9-3-1 strategy, which would generate 64 people. That worked. And by that I mean 6-4-2 is 6 front line, 4 second line, and 2 third line. 9-3-1, 9 front line, 3 second line. Now, nobody ever builds the business like that. It's an example to follow and a basic strategy to get started. Yeah, let's go out and get 6 front line and then try to work with some of them to go down line. It worked. 9-3-1 worked. But we had other strategies that most of you never heard about and never will again, perhaps, called, one was Birchfield McCoy. That whole strategy was sponsor 7 people and go platinum. 7 people. Obviously, they all had to become professional salespeople. Now, that doesn't work in our business. It's the wrong direction. But there were people that tried that. I have to tell you, they're not in the business today. They had some short-term success, but they're not in the business today. I knew some of these people that did it. The next one that came along was called 7 Deep. That one indicates that you build every line 7 levels deep. Well, sometimes you build a line 7 levels deep. You have a leader. Sometimes you do and you don't. So there is no magic number. Please understand that. I hear people talk about sponsor 20 front line. That's not a magic number either. There is no magic number. We'll get into what works in the strategies in a minute. I just want you to understand some of these concepts. Recently, we had team sponsoring, where you would place people into organizations. And that worked for a while. But what it turned out to do was build weakness, because people were waiting for other people to be put into their organizations, instead of working their list and getting new people from the hundreds of people that they probably knew. So instead of tapping their true resources, they're waiting for a gift. And so while all of these may work for a short time, on a short-time basis, they're not good long-term strategies. So let's get into what is a good long-term strategy. And I want you to remember again, I want to repeat this one. The business is simple, not easy. People complicate it and make it difficult. Get onto a basic strategy, keep it simple, and it'll work for you. It'll work just fine, as it is for all the people we've been talking about. Well, there's balance in the business, and balance is an important part of strategy. The obvious first balance we have to understand in our business is the balance between selling and sponsoring. I often tell about the person I met whose goal was to sponsor 100 people, all doing 99 PV. 100 PV gets the first bonus here in the United States of 3%. And so he wanted to get 99 people that didn't get a bonus so he'd keep all the money. Well, he didn't last very long either. That's not a legitimate strategy. It's not the proper balance. Let's understand that we are in the business to get products to the ultimate consumer. Sometimes that consumer is our customer, our client. Sometimes it is our downline. Sometimes ourselves and our families. Well, it's always that. It's always ourselves and our families because we buy for ourselves. But that's our business, getting a product to the ultimate consumer. Now, we have a marketing plan and a system and a strategy that rewards us tremendously for doing it. But we can't forget that we have to get products to the ultimate consumer. And we're not professional people for the most part, or professional salespeople, I should say. I certainly never sold anything in my life till I got in this business. And most of us are in the same situation. But you don't have to be. I'm not here to sell you on how we do the business. You know that, or you wouldn't be on this chat with us. We use the product. We demonstrate the product to others. We talk about the product being top in the class. 180 days. Money back guarantee. 6 months. Money back guarantee. Incredible. Who does that? Almost nobody. 180 days. But not being professional, we still have to do a certain amount of volume. And that depends on our own personal goals. There are people that join our business that need to make money quickly. Well, my gosh, sell the product. Get to be good at something. Create a good balance for you. See, your balance is not the same as my balance, perhaps. I didn't join the business to make immediate money. I joined it for long-term income. But I still understood that I needed to do my basic volume. I knew that I quickly had to go out there and create 100 points. Not by using the product alone, but by also selling the product to others. And I often have stated it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in a business. And that was to go out there and sell a product. But I did. Because it's one of the few things I had to get good at in order to build a business. And you all have to get good at it. And I'll say this, there's many of you on this chat here today that are not good at it. Get good at it. And I'll tell you, if I can do it, you can do it. I had a lot of hang-ups about it. I was a professional executive for a big company, and here I am going to sell soap to my friends and neighbors. That was my big hang-up. Not the physical act of doing it, the mental struggle to do it. Some of you are shy. You got to go out there and demonstrate the product. Let the product do the selling. Learn it, demonstrate it, so that people will begin to buy the product from you. Whether you need the money or not from the retail aspect of the business, and many of you do, you still have to sell the product. I understood I needed to sell it because I needed to understand how to sell it. I had to get good at selling it so I could teach people that need to sell it how to sell it. To be a good leader, I have to be able to do it myself because people will do what I do, not what I say. And so if you're sitting there telling people to sell the product and create volume and you're not doing it yourself, you're not going to be successful. It's one of the basic rules. They're going to do what you do, not what you say. So sell the product, create a balance. Now what's the right balance? Well, the first level in most markets that we shoot for is 100 PV. And if you're not doing 100 PV, you're not doing your job. And you probably won't make it in this business. I'm just telling you honestly. Because it's one of the few things that you have to do, and you have to do it well. You have to do your 100 PV. And then move up to 300 PV. And for many of you, that needs to be your ultimate goal, is 300 PV on a personal basis. But for some of you, the proper balance, because you're good at it, you want to do it, you can make money doing it, you do 1,000 PV, 2,000, 3,000 PV personally every month. And we have people doing that. We have big ticket items. iCook, eSpring, products of that nature that allow you to do it very easily. In different markets, of course, we have different products. But the products are there for you to be able to do it, whether it's basic Nutrilite and artistry or home care, or, as I say, some of the big ticket items. Get good at it. Your first level, get to 100 PV. If you're not there, get there. as quick as you can, because it's stopping you, it's holding you back from becoming successful in the business, because part of the strategy to be successful is to do your 100 to get started with and move it up to 300 at least. And if you want to stop there, fine. Barb and I, at this point in time, do over 1,000 PV every month. Why? Over the years, we've accumulated customers that buy the product. We don't even see them anymore because they go online and they buy it or ship to them. But they create a base of business. It keeps us in touch with the customer so that we know how customers are reacting to the products, so that we can be effective in working with our downline. And so if you're sitting there and you're not creating your 100 PV, you're not being a leader. I'm telling you straight. And if you're not working from 100 to 300, you are not progressing and learning some of the very simple, basic things you need to do to be successful. Many ways to do it, guys. I'm not here to give you a lesson on how to create volume and sell product. Your upline can do that. You do group selling. In fact, just this morning, I stopped to get a cup of coffee before I came into the office, and the person there knows that I am in the vitamin business. That's what he thinks, because, we talk about vitamins from time to time. He's the owner of the establishment, and he's overweight. And today he said to me as I was getting the coffee, he said, "Hey, Pete," he says, "you still selling those vitamins?" I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "They're going unbelievable all over the world." He said, "Yeah, really?" I said, "Yep." He says, "Do you have anything for weight control?" I said, "You bet we do." Yeah, that's how simple it is. You're talking with people, discussing the products, letting them know what you're doing, and there's going to be a need somewhere that you can fill with the basic products that we have. So I'm telling you now, part of your strategy is to have the right balance. And if you're not doing 100 PV and working to 300 PV, you're not doing some of the simple things that you need to do to be successful. This is not rocket science. This is not electromagnetic theory. This is not inverse Fortran equations. No, this is just having the guts, if you need it, to go out there and do it. That's what it took on my part. I had a coach in football years ago who said, "It doesn't take guts to quit." If you want to translate that into other language, it means sometimes you just have to get the guts to do what you're afraid to do and get out there and do it. And for some of you, just get out there and do it, because if you don't have the guts to do that, you're probably not going to be able to do the other things that are necessary. And these things are not that difficult, as I said before. So get the right balance. Now we get into the sponsoring aspect of it. And within the sponsoring aspect, there's another balance. And that balance is front line versus downline. And as I said before, when I mentioned the various strategies that we've had in the past, and there were many more, I didn't cover all of them, by the way, whether it's 6 front line, 9 front line, 3 front line, 20 front line, just understand what we're trying to accomplish. When you understand it, it becomes so simple in your mind. You lose all that confusion. Because as long as you stay confused as what you're going to do with your strategy, you're going to stagnate. You're not going to grow because you're trying to solve the problems in your mind before you're going out there and doing the work. So let's talk about it. What is this balance between front line and downline? What are we trying to accomplish? Well, think about it with me. We have to start front line, of course. We have to have a list. And we have to make a big list. And some of you haven't made a big enough list. This is one of the few things you have to get good at. Making your own list big. I tell the story often. My first list was 72 people. I stopped there. I figured that was enough to get started with. And it was. Once I went through those 72 people, and by the way, at that point, I had enough income to quit my job, I added another 100 people to my list. Exactly 100. Because that was my goal. I set a goal. I'm going to add another 100 to my list. And I did. Now, you see, I'm getting better and better at it. The few simple things you have to get good at, I was getting better at. I was getting better at adding people to my list. Now you say, please explain that. How do you get better at adding people to your list? Well, we all tend to prejudge in the beginning. Think of certain people and put them on a list, and others say, no. Well, by the time I put that second 100 on my list, I was looking at my yearbooks from school. Both schools, high school and college. I went to 2 high schools, so it was 3 schools. And I did some after college work, so it was even more than that. I was thinking of people that I had gone to schools with. Sometimes I had to get, like I said, the yearbook to remember who they are and find them. Today it's a piece of cake, as we say. Get on Facebook and find them. Research them, find them, add them to your list. I got to the point where I would put down the woman at the bank who is so nice. You know, you go to certain places of businesses and people treat you good, they're polite, they're nice, they're friendly, they're enthusiastic. I didn't know their names. The guy at the gas station. You get better and better at creating the list because this is the source of your front line sponsoring. And of course you learn to meet people. You learn to say the right thing, to ask the right questions. How are you today? Oh, what's the problem? Ah, the economics of the world. Well, I solved that problem myself back a while ago. You're kidding. How'd you do it? Ha You got them. You got them. You see, it gets so easy when you just learn some of these simple, basic, fundamental points. So we build a frontline list. We meet new people, add them to the list, and we always have a source for frontline people. Downline, we have to learn how to work with the list of other people. First of all, we have to learn how to help them or show them how to make a list. Now, if you haven't done it yourself, see, we're right back to that point with 100 and 300 PV. You're not going to be effective at doing it with someone else. If you haven't sat down and made out a big list, you're not going to be able to do it with your people. So get your own list out there. Carry it with you. Show it to them. I did that. I had a whole pad full of names. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a list of people like this. I said, you see this list right here? Made me free, guys. Made me free. I left my job, a big job, paying a lot of money. I left it because of this list right here. You use examples. I remember Rich DeVos from the stage talking about his sponsor. And this goes back to the selling aspect of the business. When he said, XX is too hard to sell. And his sponsor reached into his pocket and pulled out a whole group of sales slips. He says, I don't know why you say that. Look at here, Mrs. Jones, Mr. Smith, and he goes on and on with all the XX he sold. Well, it's the same thing with the list, guys. You need to make that list. You need to make it big. Then you have to learn how to work with that person, by example, with your help that person make a list. Help that person make a list. And you have to get good at that. You have to get good at that. Now, when you're showing the plan, you obviously, have to show it properly. And I've got a recording available to most of you on how to show the plan. You have to show the big picture. You have to show the products. You have to give them the trust in the business through the products and the dream in the business through the excitement and the success of other people. It's not hard to show the plan properly. Again, a few basic points. Very easy. Much easier than plotting Sputnik orbits like I did in 1957. We did that on the board, like a presentation, just like we do with the plan today. And so you have to learn how to work with the person to get their list and get that list big. Now, I call this managing the list. You have to learn how to manage the list of other people. That means build it and then work with it. And I'll get into details for you in a minute. Just remember those words, though, very important words to you. Manage the list, because this is one of the essential points, simple points, that you have to get good at. Again, not rocket science, but you're going to have to learn how to get the list. Now, if you're not showing the plan properly, you're not going to get the list. Because if you're showing it properly, if people understand that they're going to sell the product, they have to have customers, or if they're going to sponsor others, they're going to have potential candidates. Where do they come from? They come from the list. They come from the list. So if they say, well, I just want to get started selling some product, we make a list. Well, if I want to build a big org, we make a list. And we have to be able to manage the list. Now, I understand that some people say, I don't want to make a list. I'll do it later. Explain to them, look, this is the basis of our business. This is the source of the success of our business. Now, when I present the plan, I always conclude with the 4 points. And point number 4 is making the list. Once we have convinced them of the necessity of making the list, and we're not 100% successful here. Oh, I always shoot to be 100%, but there's at times, not many, that I'm not successful in getting a list. We don't succeed 100% of the time in everything. But you get better and better and better, and you're able eventually to extract a list from most people. And so, you work with them. Now, understand this point. You know better, even if you're in the business for a week, who the best prospects on the list might be. The tendency when people make a list is to work downward. In other words, think of people who don't have jobs. My favorite story is that about a person put on their list their brother-in-law. Oh, I've got a great one. I got a great one. I said, who's that? Oh, my brother-in-law. I said, why do you think he's great? Well, he hasn't had a job in 3 years. He needs the money. Well, let me tell you, if somebody in this world today hasn't had a job in 3 years, it's probably because they don't want to have a job. And if they don't want to have a job, it means they don't want to work. And if they don't want to work on a job, they probably don't want to work in the business either. This is not a good prospect. Do you put them on the list? Absolutely, because you never know. But see, you have to help them when you manage this list to get the right type of person on the list. Such as, who's the most ambitious person you know? Who do you know that has education beyond high school? Now, why do I say that? Because that's somebody that's striving to learn more. They got an open mind for new knowledge. And we want people like that in the business, the people that have an open mind to learn new things. And so, we have to become expert at managing their list. That means building the list, making the list, and getting the right people on the list. Second, we have to become expert at managing the call. So now I've got 2 areas for you. Managing the list, managing the call. What does that mean? It means there's 3 priorities once you have somebody on a list. Priority number 1, I want you to call the person and say, look, I just found something that is so exciting, I found a way to make a whole bunch of money. Now, when I started my business, those were the first calls I made. They were almost identical to what I just said. I didn't have everybody working with me. My sponsors were far away. They all quit eventually. They quit in the first couple of weeks, actually. But I saw the business on a Friday, and Monday I made my first call. I called up my friend and said, look, hey, Bill, I found a way to make a lot of money. I want to come over and talk to you about it. He said, no problem. He said, I want you to do that. I want you to make the call. That's my first priority. If you won't do that, and some people won't because they're afraid, they have fears, they're too shy. So my next priority is call the person, introduce me, something like this. Hello, Bill. I've got a friend with me here. His name is Peter Matz. Very successful guy. And he's got a business, and we're talking about making a lot of money, but we need another person to work with us, and I thought of you. Hey, you want to make a lot of money? Talk to Pete. Something like that. And so my second choice is you make the call, introduce me, I do the talking. My third priority or choice is just to take the list and do it myself because you're too afraid to do it. Too shy to do it. You're not going to do it. You're not even going to call them up and introduce me. Now, I've done all 3 effectively. All 3 will work. So first of all, you manage the list by building it and working on the people that are on it. Of course, using the various categories that we talk about, you know, family, friends, schoolmates, co-workers, you know all that. That's basic stuff. But you manage it, and then you manage the call with the 3 priorities. Either you make the approach, second, you introduce me, I do it, third, I take the list and do it myself. Now, these are the simple fundamentals of the business. So, how many frontline and how many downline do we need? Well, let's get into that strategy and the balance again. What are we looking to accomplish? Ask yourself that question. It's not a magic number, as I said before. I'm not looking to accomplish 20 frontline and say, oh, look at this, I got 20 frontline. They're going to send me on a trip around the world. I'm going to get a $100,000 bonus. You're going to get nothing. Because 20 frontline doesn't mean anything. Because you got 20 frontline doing nothing, you have nothing. So, we start with our own list, and we start getting frontline. If you sponsor somebody downline, you manage the list, manage the call, you start getting frontline for them. Now, we use today the number 3 to get people started with. And that's just to get started with. But there's a reason behind it. The fact of the matter is, on a part-time basis, it is very difficult to work with more than 3 people. Because you're not working only frontline, you got to start working depth, as we said. If you want to build an organization, you're going to have to get an organization deep. You're going to sponsor 3 people, and they're going to turn into 10 people, 20, 30, 40, 50. And you'll sponsor more frontline. But our goal, or objective, or reason for sponsoring frontline and downline is to find the people that are learning the business and building the business. Now, think about this with me. You can build quicker, get more people into business faster, going deep than you can frontline. That's true for just about everybody in this business. And so, if I sponsor somebody, I have to focus on building depth. Now, maybe that person just wants to sell products. So, I still got to keep searching until I find 3 that want to build depth. And I need to have some additional ones because some people will start and stop. Not everybody has the persistence to continue things in their life. If they did, there'd be a lot more successful people in the world, by the way. There's a lot of people that start things and stop things. As soon as they run into their first road bump as such, first challenge, first problem, they flip out and they quit. Oh, I talked to 3 people. They all said no. Bye-bye. Well, people like that never get anywhere in life. I don't care what they're doing. And so, you're sponsoring 3 to get started, but you keep going until you find the 3 that start to build depth, that make the list, that start to sponsor people. You see, that's the strategy. It's not a magic number. We start with 3 because we know we can handle 3. If that's not the right 3, get another 3. Now, it's very unusual if you're going to sponsor your first 3 and they're all going to do it. So you're going to wind up with, who knows, 10, 15, 20 frontline. Yeah, some number. But you're looking for your first 3 to build. After your first 3, you're looking for your second 3 to build. That's your strategy. And when you're working with them, as I've mentioned many, many times, the formula I use is 1 equals 10. So when I find that person that wants to build, I need to turn them into 10 people as fast as I can. I need to have them get 10 people to the weekend seminar. I need them to have 10 people on CEP. I need 10 people creating 100 or more PV. Now we're building volume. We're making money. We're growing. And so, as you sponsor frontline, you keep going until you find the ones that are willing to work depth. The serious ones. And then you keep working depth, deeper and deeper. And the fact of the matter is, we find most of our biggest leaders in depth. Sometimes 3rd in depth, sometimes 13th, sometimes 23rd. Over a period of time, we build deeper and deeper when we have the right people. But our objective is to sponsor frontline until we have 3 that are building depth. And we'll generally have a lot more that are creating volume, which gives you the breadth you need for profitability. Because as I said before, very seldom it's the first three that are going to be the ones that do it. And you don't want to wait for them either. If they're not doing it, move on, get another three. Until you have the ones that you need to be able to work deep. You can build an organization, I'm saying this again, repeating it because you need to understand it, faster in depth. Now you want to go emerald, you need three that are building depth. Those three can turn into 300 in depth. Very hard to get 300 frontline. It wouldn't do you any good anyway in terms of getting emerald. If you used to have no depth, you're never going to be an emerald. They're not going to do 7,500 or 10,000 points themselves every month. So we have to understand the business and the marketing plan and the strategy along with it. So keep it simple, guys. Get somebody new, manage the list, manage the call, get 3 people into the business, and keep getting people until you find the 3. Get the first 3, keep finding them until you find the people that are going to build deep. And when you find those people, the business explodes. Because you can build very rapidly in depth, as I pointed out before. When you are full-time in the business, you can work 4 to 8 legs in depth. Many studies have been made. I mentioned this in my last chat about management and how many people you can effectively work with. A full-time manager, it's been determined many, many times, can work effectively with 4 to 8 people, front line, so to speak. After that, they need to get group leaders or additional managers to manage the people below them or with them. And so 3 we can do part-time. 4 to 8 we can do when we're full-time in the business. So let's just review quickly the balance we talk about between selling and sponsoring. Get your 100 people and go from there if you choose. Make your list, manage the list, your own personal list. Make it bigger and bigger so that you always have a source of front line as you need them. Work with the new people. The objective to get their first 3 as quickly as possible. Looking for the decide to build a business. Of course, we try to encourage them to do that by saying the right thing or sending them an email or postcard from a trip, whatever it might do. And it works. But for the immediate, business is simple. It is not complicated. It doesn't take years to understand. The strategy. You can do it. You can learn it. You can do it. You got to get good at these few simple things. You have to do this, the call. The other aspect of the business, of course, is the education. When we talk about strategy, we're talking about the work aspect. The other side of the coin, so to speak, or the other oar when we're rowing the boat, as I use in my illustrations, is to go through a learning process. That comes from the association you have with the successful people in the business. Many times I quote the study, 86% of the successful people in the world became successful because they associated with successful people and make money, know how to build this business. You have to learn from them. You learn personal counseling, you learn from meetings, live and internet, you learn from CDs, you learn from reading books, and you have to do it all, guys. Let's learn the basics, the fundamentals. Once you've done that, yeah, put your creativity into it. We always like new ideas from the downline. You find a new way to demonstrate a product, a new way to make an approach. We love that. We all learn from that. But you have to learn the basics and the fundamentals first. You build on the basics and the fundamentals in life. Anything in life. So be a participant in the education programs. You want to build this business, don't miss a meeting. Counsel with your upline. Get on the CEP program. Listen to those CEPs. Listen to those recordings to learn. It's always amazing to me, as I said before. People want to stay as they are, and they think they're going to make a whole bunch of money. This is the easiest way I know of to make a whole bunch of money. Because it's simple. Not easy, but it's simple. You just follow some of these very basic points that we have covered right here on this chat. So I hope you're ready, guys, because these are exciting times. The growth is phenomenal. The people that are succeeding all over the world, unprecedented, and it's going to continue. We are on a wave of growth and success. One of the things that I like to talk about when I speak to groups is the nightmare. We talk a lot about dreams. Dreams are the places we want to go, the houses we want to live in, the cars we want to drive, the schools we want our children to go to, the way that we can help our family and friends. We dream of those things. And they're great, they're motivational. And if you're serious about them, the business is a way to achieve them. But there's also the nightmare. And I'm not going to go through a long discussion on the nightmare. I just want to finish this portion of our global chat with this quick illustration. One of the things that people indicate through surveys, many surveys that have been made, about their life when they're older, retired, they're asked a question: what would you do differently? Or what's your biggest life is coming to an end? You're retired, your working days are over, your productive days are over. And you know what most of them say? The regrets of the things they didn't do. And for me, that was a nightmare. Just sit in a rocking chair someday retired, having those regrets of the things I didn't do in life, the places I didn't go, the people I didn't meet, the fun I didn't have, the people I didn't help. To me, that was a nightmare. That drove me to do what I needed to do in this business and do it fast. And so, I hope you're ready to move on so that someday you don't sit in that rocking chair. And think back to this day, in December of 2011, when you participated in this global chat, and you say to yourself, if I'd only listened at that point, if I'd only gotten good at those few things that I needed to get good at and work this business, if I'd only If I had only, if I had only. Yes, that's the great regrets of life. I wish you all the best. Go on and fight for your dreams and eliminate the nightmares. Okay, guys. That finishes the strategy portion of our meeting here today. I hope that was helpful to you. And you can start sending in your questions here or comments on the discussion that we've had. And I see Paolo Vampa from Italy has